Hey guys, welcome back to the Mind Body broadcast with Austin and Marty. And today we're going to go over a summer specific topic. Well, kind of a summer specific topic, or just traveling, or it pertains more so to summer because people have barbecues and outings and things and vacations and all these things. So we want to talk about how to adhere better to your plan while you're, participating in these things. How much should you deviate? How much can you deviate? How much do you want to deviate type of thing? There's going to be, I know personally, there's a lot of situational things and contextual things that really go into this topic because, we got to talk about if someone's competing, if they're not competing, all of those things. So we want to kind of dive into that, give you guys some ideas. I know I get asked that a lot anytime someone's traveling. And obviously you want your client to let you know, hey, I'm going to be out of town. So it's not really a surprise. But I think everyone has a little bit different way of going about their travel planning in terms of nutrition, training, cardio, etc.
Absolutely, yeah, because it is just the summertime for especially we'll call them the non-competitor, someone that's just interested in fitness or we'll say achieving their best look. It's going to be a little bit more daunting for them if they don't have a definitive goal, only for the fact of it's not overwhelming for them. Like there is a couple shows here at the end of September, beginning of October, and that means that you are going to have to be, we'll say, dieting through the summer in a sense, and then you will unfortunately have to, we'll say, miss out on some of those occasions unless you can do some of the tactics we're going to talk about here, to either to rework it or maybe plan, we'll say, a free or cheat meal around them or something like that. But there's also, we'll call them the trap situations, which things like weddings, which they can be all day, they can be in a different spot, they could be the actual ceremonies in the afternoon, and then the dance or the reception is at the nighttime, and then you're away, and then they just can be a really fun time and a really quote-unquote fun time on your diet as well, especially if you're going to try to go off of just what's there for food. This can even pertain to something like business lunches, business trips, when you show up and it's the worst Subway platter at best, or it's just like cheese with terrible sandwiches and just I've seen, I know you have too, some very wacky stuff that's put out at some of these conferences or whatever, and it just can make either panic situations from the mental aspect. It can make situations poor in terms of being able to be socially acceptable, because you don't want to be the person necessarily that's whipping open the Tupperware and sitting in the corner and go, what are you doing? And so that just kind of goes into all the implications along that lines as well. So I'll kind of kick things off here with one of the things I like to say is to pick your battles. So if you're coming into the summer season and let's say you do have 2 weddings in the summer, you're going to go on a family vacation, and then you have various barbecue invites or whatever, it's just pick your battles. If you are weekly going to be going out in a sense of either on a mini vacation or going over to a friend's, or if you have multiple weddings, I think I had a client have 6 weddings one summer. It was just outrageous. And where I'm going with that is pick your battles. As if you want to choose to indulge or especially overindulge, you can't pick all of them. You can't. If you're a very social person, it's going to be detrimental to you. It definitely. Even if you were to be bang on the entire week, we'll say nail things, and then the weekend is off. That just even goes into classic, we'll say, regular people, whereas they'll generally be able to adhere better during the week, especially if they have a regular work job and then the weekends are off. Well, now if the weekends are off and you put an event on there too, that can just really throw a wrench, because if you're going to include alcohol in there, plus a food event, we'll say, plus you're out of town or anything like that, it can just really add up. So kind of making a template of what events do I have? Okay, how many do I have in June? How many do I have in July? How about August? What about camping? What about long weekends? What do I do? Pick your battles. So kind of say, okay, this one's not really that big of a deal. This is my best friend's wedding. Okay, that's one of the ones I'm going to pick to kind of be my free day or whatever. And kind of that's one of the initial things I would like to tell everyone to do.
Yeah, and obviously, like, the person's personality type and what they enjoy doing, that's just, some people just enjoy those things. Some people are very introverted and don't, and that's not super uncommon in bodybuilding either, to be introverted.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you may not even you know, you may not even care or run into those things. But I think, like, to me, right off the bat, it's important to me to just kind of quickly evaluate the situation, the variables. So the variables being things like, so you mentioned non-competitors. We could say, you know, are they a competitor? Are they not? Do they have a show coming up? Do
Sure.
they not? And then other more pertinent, even more pertinent things are, what is this person's metabolism like? What is their metabolic flexibility like in terms of what can they get away with? What can't they get away with?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of foods might be at the event? Are they still going to be able to train? Are they still going to be able to do their cardio? And then we can go into other little things like their psychological factors, like do they really care?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to bother them if they bring their food? Is it going to, because some people it won't, and other people it absolutely will. So kind of breaking down all of those factors. And then for me personally, I mean, I'm always, as a coach, you know, I feel like my job is to give someone the best possible scenario or best possible outcome. So, of course, I'm going to give them a couple scenarios. Hey, this is ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, this is what you'll do. Ideally, you're going to, maybe not ideally on paper, maybe
Right.
not ideally psychologically or anything else, but ideally on paper, you're going to plan your meals. You're going to scope out where you can get a early morning workout in before everyone else gets up. You know, or get your cardio in. You got to go outside and go for a walk before your activities start, or you know, whatever. Maybe you're staying at a hotel. Who knows? So I'm going to go over those scenarios and let the people know. And then beyond that, I like to let the client, as much as possible, kind of give the input there, because again, it's going to come back to what are they comfortable with? What end result do they want from this? What's more important? You know, priority wise, is this fourth cousin's wedding more important than their results? Or is it their best friend's wedding? You know, so I'm kind of going to go and figure out what they're comfortable with and break it down from there. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have people that, and myself included, that I don't really care if someone picks on me for bringing my food to anything. I don't care. And it doesn't stop me from being social whatsoever. Granted, I've been doing this a while, so my family doesn't, if I didn't bring it, they might think something's wrong with me.
Isn't that funny? Because it will go in reverse, right? If you've been doing it for years, and then all of a sudden, whoa, where's the Tupperware? What's going on with you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I've gotten it both ways, you know, when I have a planned meal off plan or something, and they're like, oh my gosh, you eat? And I said, yes, I eat. You know, so yeah, it definitely goes both ways. But yeah, man, there really are a lot of variables to consider there. But I have another ramble. I'm going to let you go back to it before I ramble about it.
Sure thing. Yep. So you basically sum that up really good too, in terms of, are you competing or are you not, right? So competing over the summer, you are going to have to look into those things. And some of those tactics would be scoping out the gym if you are at a destination, like even if it's out of state, out of province, versus if you're at a destination wedding. Those can be, or I'm just picking weddings for whatever. It could be a vacation. So let's say this as a blanket term. I really would not plan a vacation, which I'm talking something that is more than 3-4 days away, and it's somewhere like, we'll say, either a Europe vacation, or if you're from Europe, you're coming over to Canada or the US. If you're planning something that is a classic vacation and not an event like a wedding or just like a camping or anything like that, you are going to have to scope out those situations. Are there gyms around me? Will I be able to do the cardio there? What is the food going to be like there? How can I hook up with a meal prep company when I'm there? Will I be having a kitchen? All of those things are big tactics that, if you have a show coming up, you can't ignore that. Even if you are the most genetically gifted and you are very far out from the show, it's still not something that you can ignore, because it's, even if you, let's say, you stay the same, the progress wouldn't be there. in the way that you and the coach would have wanted. So by picking those events and trying to pick the bigger ones, like you said, trying to not the fourth cousin's wedding, but the best friend's wedding, that would be something there too. And then you can even make a deal with yourself, I'll say, in terms of lining things up beforehand. In terms of, okay, I'm going to have this dinner, but my first 3 meals are going to be on plan, and I'm gonna have 2 glasses of wine with the shrimp and lobster combo with the garlic mashed potatoes at the supper that they're having, or whatever like that. Because that's getting down to scrutiny. But we're talking right now about specifically if you're in prep, and that's when you do have to be, we'll say, a little bit more anal, because I know that the Gen Pop, especially if there is not a show and they're just interested more in fitness, that yes, you can be more lenient on that stuff, but during prep, no, it won't work out, ladies and germs. It just won't work out. You're going to have to be on top of things a little bit more. And so I know that FOMO happens, fear of missing out. I know that happens, as in, oh, it's this wedding, oh, it's this barbecue, or oh, I haven't seen this buddy from out of town. Let's say they're all looking like big events, especially during prep. You're going to have to plan around them. If you go off, let alone, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody at all, but if you're going to go off and you're going to try to keep that from your coach or whatever, your coach will figure it out. That we're not that silly. I know that Austin had probably figured it out pretty darn quick too. If it's either the look's not there, the weight's not there, something's off. So and just discussing that with someone else too. If you don't have a coach, you can. There's multiple. I have a blog up about this stuff. It's a guide to glamping and social events that I have some tactics on there too. But just making sure that you have things set up to make it emulate as much of your regular routine as you can. That would be one of the best things. Like, try to get that sleep schedule the same. If you can't do it, try to keep everything else the same. Try to kind of have the check marks where they can be absolutely possible. And then this is probably the most important thing out of those, we'll say, events or weekends or vacations, is when you get back and when you're done, nail everything. Do not turn it into a 4-day vacation. Do not turn that into a 7 in terms of food or activity or whatever it is. Jump right back into that plan and dive right back on it. And this is now, I'm going to switch topics, sorry, to, we'll say, off-season or not competing people in the coming weeks or months. Is that just dive back into that plan, get back on top of things as much as you can, and things will normalize. Even if you've gained, we'll say, 2, 4, 10 pounds, your body will normalize very quickly. And there was one of those, I'll leave with this before I give it back to you, is that one of the more famouser, I know it's not a word, quotes that I've heard is, you can't get fat in a day, but you can start to throw it down in multiple days. So especially if you're in a fat loss phase like that, it's going to be really hard unless you went super hog wild. And even then, it's probably not going to do as much as you think, especially for the general fitness person. But if you turn that into a multiple day bender in terms of alcohol, or binge eating fest in terms of food, then you will start to see your results decline pretty rapidly.
Yeah, well, and I laugh those people that don't acknowledge it like it's no big deal. Oh, you're not going to get fat in X amount of time. Like, look, that's false, because I've seen people do it more than one occasion. But going back to a couple things, just to reiterate a couple things that you said, just the planning thing, something that I do personally is, I am on the neurotic side. So FYI, I'm not saying anyone has to do what I have to do, what I'm doing, but the planning thing's isn't really that hard. Even if you're not the one planning your hotel or your restaurant, just ask, okay, we're going to this restaurant, get on the menu. Some restaurants even provide nutrition facts, or at least calories, or they provide options that you can get cooked to be damn near what you're already eating. And most hotels, you can get a refrigerator and a microwave. Most hotels that, even if they don't have a gym, have cardio equipment. Most places that you're going to be having these things, if it is an all-inclusive, like, or something bigger like that, yeah, they might, an event, yeah, they're probably going to have all that stuff on site. If you're planning a vacation, don't get a hotel that doesn't have a microwave and a refrigerator. Like I see this all the time. Like, just freaking book one that does. You know what I mean? Like, I know typically my wife and we do all kinds of traveling for shows and for events and conferences and stuff. And, I just look. I mean, it's not really that difficult. And if I know that it's going to be very, very busy, then I'll actually just find a hotel that a lot of at least they don't have to be super expensive, but a lot of the mid-grade hotels will have maybe some dumbbells and cables and stuff within it. I'll plan an upper body workout for that day.
Mm-hmm.
Easy, done. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science. And yeah, even if the hotel costs $20 more a night, well, the freaking guest pass at the gym is going to cost $20. So, you can go right downstairs and literally work out, come back up, take a shower, go to your whatever event. And it's not that difficult to plan. And I think one of the biggest downfalls of people just have the wrong connotation with it. They think that it's a punishment that they are going to have to stay on their plan, or at least somewhat resembling their plan while they're away. Like they're entitled to not doing so, which, hey, if that's what you can do what you want, you're an adult. But at the same time, I think that the negative connotation thing really inhibits people from enjoying what they're doing and enjoying the outing or the vacation or the wedding or whatever, while still staying on their plan. They think that they can't, when in reality, they're making it way too focused on their plan and their food and their cardio and their training rather than socializing with all the people that are there. Or, it's not their damn wedding. You know what I mean? Like, it's you can go and socialize and talk to people and do those things without being a glutton. It's very possible. And if it's your vacation, same thing. I know you mentioned planning things like on restaurant menus and stuff. One little thing I like to do, let's say the person maybe they're not in prep, but they're just somebody that they just can't get away with a lot. Like, I can't just say, do whatever. You know what I mean? I'll say, hey, I'm going to give you a base plan every day. We're going to lower your meal frequency. So you're normally eating 5 meals a day. I'm going to have you eat 3 meals a day because you're going to be out doing stuff and having fun and whatever. You know what I mean? So let's just lower your meal frequency. Let's have 2 protein meals with vegetables. And then I'm going to allow you 1 meal off plan every day while you're there. And you're going to have all kinds of calories build up. No, don't go eat 2 large pizzas, please. But at the same time, making sensible choices, a dinner, an entree, a side, an appetizer or whatever. And you're probably not even going to hardly go over on your calories at that point. You're not matching macros. Yeah. But, you're not going to probably do any damage at all. So, I mean, there's so many things that can be done. That's my point. There's a lot of things you can do to stay pretty close to plan and not be miserable.
Absolutely. We'll call that saving meals, right? It's not going to be, we'll say, I love that you use the term ideal, but you can make something that is optimal for that situation, which would be, let's say you have, like you said, some leaner meals that are just, we'll say, eggs with spinach or whatever. Let's say you make it leaner and you kind of either save up the carbs or the fats for later on because maybe you've been doing evenly split meals. That's cool, but it's gonna not matter as much as you think if you kind of save up and then have, we'll say, the bigger meal to still kind of keep your calories or your macros closer to what you said. Like you said, you probably won't even be going over it if you do that. And you can kind of, we'll say, bank the meals or bank the calories for later on. So sure, you might be a little bit more hungry during your day, but then it will pay off because then you're able to engage more in that social function if that's one of the more higher priorities to you, for sure. So, and kind of when you said about being able to plan with, depending upon the restaurant, if they just want to go way off, whatever, I like to say meet me in the middle. Because if they want to, we'll say they've had it, it's been rough time at work, they're finally going away on vacation, they just want to go hog wild, let's say, okay, well, here's your plan, here's what you're planning, so here's what we'll do. And like you said, you can plan them, say, let's have a free meal off or whatever, and then I'll kind of get ideas and we'll go back and forth till we meet on something that's a much better option than them going there and trying to stay on their plan and regretting it and hating it, and also then going there and being so far off their plan that when they cut either during that vacation or when they come back, they're also, we'll say, hating it, which kind of goes into my second point on that is once you come back from the vacation, let's say you have overindulged the wedding, the vacation, the event, the camping, whatever, then don't go crazy overdoing it like someone would potentially during a post show. In other words, don't jump on the cardio and start doing 2 hours of cardio. Don't take away all your carbs or all your fats or just start eating completely minimally. Don't do anything like that, because not only psychologically that you are going to start to look at the gym as punishment in a sense, and especially cardio is hard enough as it is, kids. You don't want to start having to think, oh yeah, and you get on there and then that, even if you're not associating it exactly that time and it's feeling good that you're doing that, that's a little bit of a sign of eating disorder like behavior. If it's like, okay, good, I can burn off the food. And now, can you imagine, Austin, if that was the way we could do it? If we could go, we could eat pizza, we could drink booze, and then just burn the pizza and the booze off on the cardio, and just save all the muscle and just go, okay, so I ate 10,000 calories of this, let's do 10,000 calories of cardio. It's going to come completely from the beer and the wine and the pizza. Oh, man. Now, that would be efficiency to the max, but it doesn't work like that, kids. Or else I would probably order pizza to the treadmill while I was on vacation, just because I'd be like, okay, I'm burning this pizza off. I'm not screwing up anything with recovery, with digestion, anything like that. So definitely don't overdo it. And that's, like I said before, after just get back on plan. Don't try to lower too many things. Don't try to overdo your cardio. Don't try to slash the living crap out of your food. Just get back onto your plan. If you have a coach or not, you can be able to talk about that. And so that would be one of the best tactics, that if you do go off, just make sure that you're still jumping right back into whatever you have for your plan.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of picking up little bits that you are mentioning and reiterating a couple things. I mean, there's one other thing in there, in terms of food, meal prep companies now. I mean, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but there is a lot of options here in the U.S. now. A lot of them don't necessarily ship nationwide. A lot of them are local, but you can actually literally just punch in the area that you're going to and put fitness meal prep company in XYZ city. You know what I mean? And it's not, and you're going to find something within a shipping radius or a delivery radius or whatever. So that's another option that I have people use quite often. And then also little things like, I don't know how I want to state this. The one issue that I think also comes up too is pertaining to like who are you traveling with? Are you traveling by yourself? And because we kind of touched on like other events for, weddings and things related to other people. What about strictly vacations or strictly you're traveling with your wife or your wife and if you have kids, traveling with your wife and your kids? I don't know. I'm sure you run into this, but kind of relaying the message to them and them understanding you not necessarily eating the same things that they're eating, while you're away. Do you run into that often? Like the person, that's their reason. That is their reason that they don't want to adhere, is because they think that it will disappoint their family.
Absolutely. Disappoint family, or be in embarrassment, shame, or that they'll feel like the outsider. Yeah, all that stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I would say 9 times out of 10, people are surprised that that's not necessarily the case. If, at least in my experience, especially if someone's married and they're that in depth in a relationship and they've been with someone long enough, and if your spouse isn't understanding of your lifestyle, then I don't know why you're together, because bodybuilding is a very involving lifestyle. So that's kind of that's a whole different can of worms. But or husband for that matter. But yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, if you're sitting there and they're eating pizza and you're eating grilled chicken salad, they probably don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully. And that goes back to the same thing that I said about making your vacations or making your whatever about what they're actually about and not just about food.
That's right.
And yes, there's a food component, of course, because if you're going to a lot of these places, you want to try, you might want to try somewhere that you've never tried. You might want to try the local cuisine or authentic food from that area, if you're traveling out of country or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and you can, because we gave you all the strategies, plenty of strategies there to do so. But at the same time, there's so many other things. And I encourage people to, that's part of the research of the planning too. Not only planning, figure out, hey, where's the gym and where's the microwave, where's the refrigerator, but also what else is there to do there? What else can you do while you're there? Is there local museum? Is there local monuments? Is there something historical you might want to see? Is there a local attraction, theme park, whatever. There's so many things that we miss out on. And that's just because by nature, we are very, very food focused. And that's, it's whether you want to call it disordered, I guess it depends on how far you taking it. But in all reality, people they miss out on so many other things because they're basing everything around food. When I know we went over to the UK for that seminar.
Right.
I was in prep. Granted, even if I wasn't in prep, I probably would have had some kind of food strategy, but man, I was like, I've never been here. There's all kinds of cool shit here. I ate my meal. I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, okay, eat the meal. I'm going to check out this and I'm going to check out this and I'm going to talk to, this person or whatever. It was in almost everywhere is like that. Unless you're literally going on vacation. I guess there's probably places that have nothing, but I'm assuming most people aren't going on vacation there. That seems like a waste of money. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, shifting the focus onto other things outside of food, outside of training. Get up, get your workout done before your wife and your kids wake up. Suck it up. Yeah, you got to get up a little early, but you're done. You're done for the day.
You got it. Oh, man, I love that. You just gave me tons of great things to go on. I loved everything you said. That's great. Especially the very last thing you said about if there is, we'll call it a non-bodybuilding ideal situation, such as maybe there isn't a gym or isn't a good gym, or even, let's just say no gym. Let's say there is no cardio machines, which that's cool. You do realize that walking outside or hills or hiking is still a form of cardio, right? But and I have at the top of my notepad here, how long have you been doing this? And by this, I mean fitness, I mean bodybuilding, I mean dieting. And even then, are you been trying to do a fat loss phase for the last 4 weeks? Has it been the last 18 weeks? Take a break. Give yourself a chance to miss the gym. If you work out 365, hopefully none of you are, if you work out 365 days a year, you will regress. There is more than enough literature on the hammering of the body for 365 days a year. If you don't take a break, you will not optimally recover. Yes, just because you're not training legs and you're training shoulders and arms right now, you're still impeding your recovery. You can listen to the recovery episode that we went on over that, but I say give yourself a chance to miss things. I had a girl that just competed here on the last weekend. She wasn't my client. Her coach left her high and dry, and she said she was going to the lake for 2 days, and which was actually today and tomorrow. And she said, well, what do I do? I don't know what to do. There's no gym there. Do I do a body weight workout? I said, relax and enjoy yourself. Make sure the food is decent. You're just post-prep. Just enjoy yourself. How long have you been working out for? And she said 6 days a week since January. And I said, take a friggin' break. You will be okay. And that's some. And she said, it's my anxiety, Marty. And I said, that's okay. That's okay. But and I was like, do you respect me? Do you trust me? She said, yeah. I said, well, this is me telling you as another coach that, because she asked me, and I said, yeah, I would take a break. I've done that. Give yourself a chance to miss it. Which lead me to that if you know that you are going to have one of these vacations where maybe training will not be able to happen, you can kind of overdo it for the leading weeks up to the vacation. I don't like the overdoing it afterwards, because that's a little bit too wonky in terms of like I talked about. But now overdoing it beforehand, like let's say either ramping up cardio for the next bit, either we'll say maybe putting yourself into a little bit of a bigger deficit. If you only work out 3 or 4 times a week, maybe try the 5 to 6 times a week for the last 2 to 3 weeks before the vacation, and then you can kind of take a break on it. The way that the analogy I like to use for that is akin to on the highway, that if you're going, we'll say, I'm going to use kilometers here. So I don't know if it's, what's the average highway there, Austin, for speed?
Speed would be about 60 to 70 miles per hour.
Perfect. So if you're going 60 to 70 miles an hour, if you're going 110, 120 kilometers an hour, if you gas that up to something like 90 miles an hour or 140, 150 kilometers per hour, and you only do it for a little bit, you'll probably be okay. And the reason why I like this analogy is that if you go too extreme, let's say 105, 110 miles an hour, 180 kilometers an hour, you're increasing your chances of crashing, especially if you are keeping it going that long. So that's why I said like that 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not talking about going something crazy hard crash diet for 6 weeks, but if you we'll call it a controlled crash, you're just ramping things up a bit, and then when you put the car into neutral again, it's not going to immediately go right back to the 110 or the 60 miles an hour. It's going to slowly go back to that, and you will give yourself a little bit bigger of a deficit. You will be able to gain a little bit of super compensation in that regard, and you will want the training break. Your body will be able to heal. You'll be indulging a little bit of the local food, like you said, and that will kind of give you the peace of mind saying, okay, cool, I did all the training, and that will really help out the mind and part of the things too, saying, okay, I didn't slack off. And that's why I say just nail things before you go. Nail things the coming weeks beforehand, because that can be, if you're trying to be just, we'll call it summer mode, and barbecue here, barbecue there, and then vacation, now you're really setting yourself up to lay down some extra fat. And so that's especially if you're a camper, and I've got quite a few of them, and they go either every 2 weeks or whatever, I say in between you gotta make sure that you're on top of that plan. And I'll almost even switch things to like a cyclical diet, where the Monday to Friday or the Sunday to Friday is really on track, or we'll say in a deficit, or potentially cardio's higher depending upon the person and then their time. And then when they go camping, they can do exactly like my analogy, kind of put things into neutral, let themselves coast back down, and then when they get back, it's not overdoing it because it's already part of their plan. They're jumping right back into their more, we'll call it aggressive fat loss phase.
Yeah, so that's something we didn't mention too. So that's pre-planning.
You got it.
I would call it. That's pre-planning. Yeah. So, and I'll intentionally, well, I don't know if it's not super intentional, but I mean, it definitely pans out this way, where we get close and someone pops a trip on me. They're, hey, got this going on, whatever. I'll overreach them, or maybe, or almost overtrain them a little bit, because we'll intentionally plan a deload for while they're away.
Yeah.
It's super easy to do. That takes, hey, right there, you're taking out a whole entire training component. It's not, granted, if they're going on vacation for some ridiculous amount of time, most people aren't going on vacation for any more than 2 weeks. So it's not really an issue. But yeah, deloading in that regard, very easy to do. Another thing is going back to activities, doing things while you're there. We talked about, I'm not sure if we put this episode out or not. Sorry, folks, because we do a lot of these.
Yep.
Neat levels. Be as active as possible while you're there. If you can walk, don't drive.
Did you look at my page and steal my next topic? Because it says right at the top there. Yeah, you keep going, you bastard. Stole it on me.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that people, I think, really underestimate while they're on vacation or away somewhere where they're kind of looking at things, is because maybe they don't even like cardio. Maybe these people don't, they don't like cardio. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that do, but it's not necessarily the same, because you're feeling good. Your dopamine levels are up because you're having fun. You're in a different environment. You're looking around. You're seeing things. You would be shocked how much walking and caloric expenditure you have just from your NEAT levels, just moving around, just doing things. So be active. Do, whether it's you're camping and you want to go play, around here, a lot of people camping, they'll have like sand volleyball or, different things around basketball courts, different things maybe depending on the campground that you can do, hiking, of course, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, you can burn a ton of calories just doing those activities. And right there, if you guys listen to what we talk about with NEAT levels, you're going to understand that that's going to offset a lot of your maybe over indulging in food. So another thing to consider.
Absolutely. Even I went on a vacation, a mini vacation myself here about a month ago, and we floated down the river, which we had to walk around and walk back to. We did some yoga that I haven't done in a while. Just pick some new stuff. Went to the farmer's market and walked around. You can Google local things and this is again part of the pre-planning, or even when you're there, you can Google it whilst there and just do something different. And I'd really like to say that again about give yourself a chance to miss the gym, even if you don't. I know, like, when clients get sick, they're like, "Oh man, I really, really wish I want to get back in the gym," and it's almost like a revving an engine before the light turns green type of thing, right? So that it will give you that chance to not only explore and potentially get some new hobbies that you might enjoy, but then you'll be able to come back and you'll be like, okay, cool, I missed this. I really can't wait to get back into the groove of things again. It's almost like if you haven't played or watched a movie in a while, you come back and rewatch it, and it's really good, as opposed to trying to watch the same movie all the time. It's just things like that. Just give yourself a chance to miss the gym, to miss the things that you've been doing for quite some time, and then get out and do things. I know this is going a little bit beyond. We're kind of, we'll say, telling you what to do on vacation, but just if you're doing like a staycation or something where there's not a lot of movement, especially if you have been doing, we'll say, cardio, or even if you're not, even if you're off season, just get out, explore, go do stuff. You'll end up feeling great because of it. I love that you said NEAT levels too, because that can people will say really dramatically underestimate that NEAT can almost overtake cardio in terms of you lugging yourself around. This can be just as effective. Especially, I went to Montreal for a bachelor party, and I met up with my buddy Leon, and I think I looked at my phone. I think I walked 13 kilometers around all of Montreal. I was like, oh my God. And so that was outrageous. We went kind of everywhere, and so I couldn't express enough that I completely agree with you on that regard.
And the reason I brought up the NEAT levels initially too is because I just had somebody come back from vacation that lost weight, and of course they're shocked because they were kind of in the freak out crowd beforehand. If they're listening, I'm not calling you out. This happens more often than you think. But yeah, I mean, heck, like when I went over to the UK, I lost weight and got leaner while I was there because we freaking walked everywhere.
Yep.
And my NEAT levels aren't very high normally, obviously, just by the nature of my job. But and that was with 24 hours of flying, and I know I was holding fluid because I had rings around my ankles. You know what I mean? So how much fat I lost was probably pretty substantial. But yeah, I mean, don't underestimate the value of just keep your body moving and planning planning training deloads. I mean, heck, for that matter, I get people that come back and look better just because of all the freaking inflammation that clears out from not beating the crap out of themselves for a week or 5 days or whatever. So people don't, try not to get too focused on 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. In all reality, there is most likely a way that you can plan the vacation that's not going to impede any progress. I know this weekend, we didn't really talk about it much. We went to that physique summit.
Right.
And one of the speakers brought up, their topic was progression over the years. So they basically went like through their career and things that they learned and things that they disregarded like over the years. And every single issue that was in there, whether it was an injury, whether it was a trip, or whether they got sick or anything like that, was a blip on the radar at the end. It was so quickly. And that's not to say that those things don't add up. If you go on 10 trips a year and you mess around on all 10 of them, then yeah, your year's not going to be nearly as productive as you can. But if you go on one trip and you do a lot of the things that we talked about, I don't think it's going to be quite as detrimental as you think, and probably not at all.
No. So to take that, I was like, if you steal what I got at the top of my page again, you bastard, I'm going to come after you. So, but you didn't mention it, which was great. So even if, let's say, like how you said you lost weight on vacation, you said even one of your clients had lost weight on vacation. I'll take it a step further where I'll have people come back, they have lost weight on vacation, and I'm talking good weight, they've lost fat or they look better or whatever, and they say, listen, I did overindulge. Listen, I didn't do my workouts. I didn't do my cardio. What the hell happened? It's probably because you finally effing relaxed. If you are in a high-strung job, like I know there's no thermodynamic or metabolic explanation for this, but stress and you being able to go, if your thing is lay on the beach for a bit, maybe have a couple cocktails, whatever it is, if you go home and now you really you're like me and you live across the country and you go home and that's just relaxing for you, that like between cortisol levels, between every other kind of stress hormone levels, when they balance out, your body will finally go, okay, I'm not in a damn panic. And that could be a hormonal balancing then because the stress isn't combating that. I've seen this happen countless times, and I'm so glad that you were mentioning about how even just going there and just upping the NEAT levels did a lot for you, which is definitely can be a factor in there. But even then, I've seen that just being able to frigging relax, and then that would come with the pre-planning too, is that not worrying about the gym and not worrying about the food as much, doing the best you can, and then outside of that, focus on the things that would be so rudimentary to people like myself in Austin or people that have been doing this for a while. Is get your water and hydration levels in. Make sure that you're at least consuming some protein when you're there. There's little tiny things that you can do to not so that the train isn't so far off the rails. It's in the forest now. It's just kind of off the tracks, and you can put it back on. Because to take something and go 100% in the other direction, like we'll say, go back to my highway analogy, and so slamming on the brakes and putting it in reverse, that's one thing. But then the little things that you can control like that if you have been, we'll say, on a set hydration plan, and it just keeping that set, not only that will that shift you mentally to and go, okay, cool, this is something in my control, especially if you feel things are out of your control in terms of you're not eating at a regular scheduled time and you're someone that's very we'll say on top of that always, and that causes you a bunch of stress. Just making sure that the things that are in your control are still there. If there's no gym, stressing out about it is not going to be the best option. Sure, that's not ideal, but we have to make things optimal for that situation. So and I would encourage you to go have fun. Like I can't believe we're so on in sync with this, but just having fun and not worrying. And actually, so that's why the term vacation is to get away, right? Is to make sure that you're not going to come back to the same level of stress in terms of your stress levels are going to be gone. Hopefully, the vacation isn't going to increase your levels of stress. Kind of making me think of that National Lampoon's Vacation where they go to Wally World and his stress levels just get higher and higher. So, and sometimes that is unavoidable, unfortunately. Like if, let's say, family reunion, you're not exactly the best friends with your family, okay, but even then, pre-planning that and making sure that doesn't set you off can be another thing. And so that would be the reversal, that let's say you are at the family vacation, you getting away to the gym for even an hour in that morning, going to your sanctuary, something that's normalized for you, can really make the vacation either more enjoyable and at the absolute least tolerable. So having that said, I'll go into one more topic I have on my pad, which would just be alcohol. It's summer. Summer is associated with alcohol, at least at some points. You see the beer ads, you see the cocktail ads. It's just the patios are out. People are drinking a bit more. If you choose to indulge in alcohol, one of the more key things that I say to my clients and to whoever wants to listen to us handsome devils is you don't get to overindulge in alcohol and food. It's if you pick both, if you want to get absolutely hammered and then you want to eat pizza afterwards, there are going to be consequences of that, especially if you overindulge in the alcohol and then you wake up hungover. Just like I said a couple times now, get back on the plan. Wake up. get hydrated, get the salt and water back in you, jump back on your plan, have a protein shake, whatever the heck it is. It will suck. Have some Tylenol, whatever the heck you want to do, but just know that it's usually I will say never the alcohol, but it's the alcohol plus the bad food that night plus the feeling like crap the next day, which equals eating the greasy food, or even we'll say wasting that next day, which goes back to the you can't get fat in a day, but then if you continue it over the period of the next couple days, that can lead to shame, that can lead to regret. It's just kind of making that deal with yourself, like I said about at the wedding. If you want to have 2 glasses of wine and have the dinner, cool, and just kind of stick to that, and that will be very empowering if you do that. And so if this is one of your, especially we'll say this is your first vacation while you've been following a meal plan, or your first event out where you've been following a meal plan, you've been crushing things for, let's say, 4, 6, 8 weeks, however long it is, those are the little steps that you can take that aren't going to be someone like Austin, in a sense of Austin's a seasoned pro at this. He's already got the meal prep company lined up. He's already got the gym scouted out. So you could just focusing on those little things, like as in, okay, wow, I only had those 2 glasses of wine. That's so cool. And then it becomes significantly easier the next time. It really does, because then you've done it. So you know that you can do that again. You know that you can get the planning down. You know that you can feel great. You know you can still, like you said, socialize and not be so food focused. And the same thing, you can not be so alcohol focused. Some of these vacations that we'll flip the script here, that's in the wintertime when they'll go to Mexico and they'll do the all-inclusive thing, and the liquor is included in the price, and just it's flowing. If you're used to going down there for, we'll say, 5 days, and you're used to getting drunk 4 of them, maybe do 2 this time. Even just making the steps to improve, we'll say, your fitness lifestyle, if that's a goal of yours, which clearly it is if you're listening to this podcast, that's one of the easier ways, I think, to kind of make those deals with yourself.
And to that point, something that you touched on briefly, just about disordered eating and things a little bit earlier, is that if you feel that you have to be that extreme, that you have to just be eat like an absolute asshole and get plastered while you're on vacation, you want to ask yourself, like, what this lifestyle is doing for you and how you're treating it, and what do you think about it on a normal basis? Are you one of those people that's just waiting for the weekend to have a cheat meal type person? Like,
right,
are you
right?
You know what I mean? So to me, if somebody expresses those kind of concerns to me just randomly, I'm thinking, what's going through your head on a normal basis? Are you enjoying your lifestyle? Are you enjoying what you do? Because at the end of the day, this is a lifestyle. You know what I mean? So you're still, and that's why a lot of the time my non-competitors, truthfully, are stricter. I guess we'll use that word, stricter on vacation than my competitors.
I've found the exact same thing, man. Keep going. Yep.
And the reason is because they don't have, they haven't established these terrible relationships with food. They haven't established these bad disordered eating habits. They haven't established any of these bad thought processes. So they're going on vacation. Yeah, they're going to do the 1 meal off plan every day, like I mentioned, and they have everything else planned out. They're going on the beach. They're going to try fresh seafood. You know what I mean? They're going to try fresh produce. They're the people that are eating those things, and they think that they enjoy it. Like, they genuinely enjoy it because they just enjoy their lifestyle. They're like, hey, this is healthy food, quote unquote, and it tastes really good. It's different. But the people, it's just like post show. You're going from one extreme to another. If you feel at any point, whether you're going on vacation, whether it's making it through your week to get to the weekend or whatever, and you feel that you absolutely have to go from one extreme to the next, then there's potentially another underlying issue there that's not necessarily related to your vacation or your meal plan or anything.
Absolutely. And whenever something goes so hog wild, we'll call it, in one direction or the other, let's say you go to something hyper strict, you're starting up a plan after being off for a long time, or you're going to something completely off plan from being strict for such a long time, I call it, that's hard on the body and hard on the mind, because you will then all of a sudden start creating potentially new we'll say disordered eating behavior, or it's maybe something that has kind of gone away that now will start raging to come back. And it's almost like being in, we'll say, recovery, is that if you know, let's say that the Mexico vacation, that was something you used to do and go get the entire 5 days, maybe wait for a bit and not pick that style of vacation. It's just, you know, if you have been an alcoholic, maybe take your time before you go hang around the same bars, type of thing. Maybe don't go to that same destination vacation that you used to go when you were 20 with your buddies, type of thing. Just even setting in that goes back into the pre-planning, right? Is that to set yourself up for that? Even if you have the best plan in the world, environment is everything. It's just like I love that you said, who are you going on vacation with? If you're going on vacation with 4 of your best drinking buddies or 3 of your best girlfriends that just love to sit by the beach and drink, you're setting yourself up for a much trickier ride than, let's say, going on vacation with your 3 fitness interested friends, in a sense, and maybe your vacation is to go to Gold's Beach, Venice, or whatever. That's a different style of vacation. Even that can we'll say, help you to stay on track if you're, we'll say, worried at all about your mental status or worried about your whatever status. But that swinging back and forth is so hard on both the mind and the body. And it's fascinating to me that you said that about your non-competitors or whatever. I have found the same thing. They just don't have that, we'll say, it's of course, it's not a blanket statement. I know lots of competitors that can have vacation no problem, or that they're so hyper strict that there's no such thing as a food or training vacation to them. They're going to do it no matter what, right? And that's again, like you said, is this a lifestyle? And to one more time to kind of branch into exactly what you said, that is something underlying for sure. Is if you genuinely go there with the best intentions, and then you get there and something either gets triggered or something happens, that is an underlying issue. And this is not going for us trying to point any fingers or it was just raising some flags and saying, this is you're going to have to start dealing with that, because that won't go away with the amount of planning in the world. Some coaches are pretty good at dealing with that stuff. I like to talk to my clients a lot about how they are, about their mental status, but then I'm not going to, it still sounds rude, but get help on that stuff, right? There is counselors out there for that kind of stuff, because that is a scary stuff, and it will only hang around. It doesn't just go away because now you picked a meal plan. Now you've gotten in shape. There's a really good meme I saw that shows a person. It's a stick figure, and he's overweight, and he's standing on the scale. And then it shows the next picture. He's standing on the same scale, but he's in shape. And he said, "Well, that didn't work." And that's because the being in shape won't necessarily make you happy in that sense, so that won't make you fulfilled. I know I'm going way into things, but this is the Mind Body broadcast here, is that if you do go on 2 or 3 vacations, even 1 vacations, and some really old habits come back, even if it's 4 weeks into a diet, even if it's 4 years into a diet. And when I say diet, I mean following a fitness lifestyle, in a sense, something that you made the choice to do, and something rears, will say, its ugly head, then that's something you need to look after for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was appropriate to bring up, just because I can't say that I've ever heard anyone really mention it in that regard. So
it's just you know what, Austin. I'll sorry to cut you off, but it's just one of those. It's just not talked about enough. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, oh, blah blah blah. This it's just smarten up, start eating the food right. Mental health, in emotional health, we'll call it. It's there. I'd be very willing to bet that if I knew a quarter of my nutrition and training knowledge, but had the skills of a PhD master's degree psychologist, my clients would be in better shape than anyone that knew absolutely every last friggin' perfect macronutrient timing, supplement, PED enhancements. I bet you that my clients, being the master psychologist with just knowing, we'll say, some general food ideas, would have people, we'll say, happier or doing better and in better shape.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I think you could probably look across the board and realize a lot of the most successful coaches that work with, assuming they work with a variety of clients, they're not just working with like one type of client they've adapted to. They do have a massive psychological component that goes into everything that they're doing. Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely a good observation. I know I mean, and from the education standpoint, I mean, heck, how many good coaches are there that don't even have a certification, let alone a degree
Yeah, that's
or
right. Yeah.
else? I've ran into not a few, actually. I've run into several coaches, and even this weekend, that's a really good example too. This weekend at the Physique Summit, I was shocked how many people had psychology education.
Oh wow, that's
Um,
awesome. That's great to hear. But like that's telling you right there's kind of the underhand, not the underhand weapon, but we'll say the side topic that I don't think is discussed enough.
yeah, it wasn't something I intentionally brought up, but we just kind of talked about it. And there was one of the presentations was related to all the things that we talk about. And oh my gosh, my freaking neck hurt by the end of it because I'm just sitting there shaking my head. Like, yes,
No way, that's crazy.
yeah, but but yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to add to that other
Nope,
than,
that's good for me, man. Yep.
yeah, I'm good.
All right then, from Austin and Marty at the Mind Body Broadcast. Stay tuned for the next one, and hope you enjoyed this one.